Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Hello.
Global Digital Success
Success
Talks.
Talks.
Happy Monday to everyone, or happy Tuesday if you're already on Tuesday. So let's find out what is our topic for today.
All right. Our topic for today is how to build a personal learning system that actually work. So stay with us.
Thank you, Jessie. So, yes, that's our topic for today. But before we dive into our topic, let us introduce ourselves. So, hi, everyone. My name is Sandy. I'm originally from Panama, but currently reside in Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. I also work in the movie industry, and I'm a proud digital business owner and mentor.
Hi, my name is Patsy. I am originally from Brunei Darussalam and now residing in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm a mother of 4 and grandmother to 9. And now I am a proud digital business owner and mentor.
Hello, everyone. Happy and blessed Monday. My name is Christiana. I am originally from Nigeria. I reside in Texas. I am a registered nurse by profession. I am a proud digital business owner and also a mentor. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Isabel. I am originally from Mexico, but I am residing in the US. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a former educational assistant, and I'm now a digital business owner and mentor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yesenia, but everyone knows me as Jessie. I'm a nurse by profession. I live here in Ontario, Canada, but I'm original from Cuba. I have my business online and I'm a mentor at the same time.
Okay, Maimuna.
Hi, my name is Maimuna Diallo. I'm from West Africa. I'm a proud digital business owner.
Okay, so now let's dive into our topic for today.
Okay, our today's topic is how to build a personal learning system that actually works. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana. So, yes, that's our topic for today. So, welcome back to another episode of the Global Digital Success Talk. So, today we would like to begin with a simple question. How many times have you learned something valuable only to forget it a few weeks later? Well, I guess most of us have experienced that. Well, we watch a great video, we read an inspiring book, we, we attend a seminar, take pages of notes, and then life gets busy, right? So the problem usually isn't a lack of information, it's the absence of a simple system. So learning isn't about collecting knowledge, it's about consistently applying what we learn. So today we would like to share 5 principles that can help you build a personal learning system that work for years and not just for a few days. And for that, we're going to be talking about the following points.
Um, Today's point is number 1, learn with a purpose. Second, schedule learning is like an important appointment. Number 3, capture what you learn. 4, apply one lesson before learning something new. And review, reflect, and continue. I'm going to see. Oh. Couldn't see. Oh. Yeah. Never mind.
Hold on. Okay, so the last one was review, reflect, and continue growing. Okay, so thank you, Patsy, for so today's those are the points that we're going to be talking today. So let's dive into our first point.
Okay, today our first point is learning with a purpose. Learning is important, but we don't have to learn everything at once. The key is knowing why you are learning and what you need to learn at this stage of your growth. So it's not everything that we learn at once. Don't learn everything. Learn what aligns with your goals. There is so much information available today. Trying to learn everything can leave us overwhelmed. Focus on what supports where you are going to. Like, for instance, they said a jack of all trades, masters of none. You want to do everything at once. At the end of the day, you are not doing anything. Ask yourself, what skills will make the biggest difference right now? Instead of jumping from one thing to another, you could learn a skill that you need most at the moment. That's that question can help you prioritize your learnings. Having a clear purpose keeps you focused. When you know why you are learning, it becomes easier to stay committed and avoid unnecessary distractions. We all know that procrastination is a thief of time. If you want to do something, just get up and do that particular thing at that moment. If you keep on postponing it, you find out that you are not doing anything. Purpose prevents information overload. Not every video, class, books, or training needs your attention. Having a purpose help you know what to consume and what to leave for another time. Every lesson should move you closer to your personal growth. Intentional learning creates meaningful progress. You don't have to know everything. Consistently learning and applying the right thing can produce greater progress than consistently collecting information. So my reflection today is learning becomes more powerful when it has a clear purpose. My takeaway today is don't chase more information. Focus on the information that moves you forward. Thank you so much, and I pass it back to Sandy.
Thank you, Christiana. So we do have a comment here from Sylvia. She say, "It's never too late to start, so you don't have to be perfect to start anything." So Christiana talk about learn with a purpose. So like Christiana was saying, when you learn with a purpose and you focus on the skills and the knowledge that align with your goals, that helps you to become intentional learning. Those becomes intentional learning that creates those meaningful progress and that help you to move forward even without becoming so overwhelmed. So Christiana also added, learning with a purpose means being intentional about what you give your time and attention to. So you don't need to know everything, you need to learn what will help you take your next step. So that's what for that point. So now let's move on to our next point.
Okay, our next point for today is capture what you learn. One thing I have learned throughout my journey is that learning something once doesn't mean you'll remember it forever. When I started learning about technology and this digital business, and new ways of communicating, there was so much information coming at once, so much information coming to me that I couldn't possibly remember all of it. So I started writing things down, a lesson that made sense, an idea I wanted to try. And yes, I was making mistakes while doing things, but after I started repeating things one time after another, it kind of stayed with me, and I remember it. Sometimes it was in a notebook, and I had to go get my notebook before I started doing things. And sometimes it was on my phone, you know. I simply wrote things down that made sense, and I knew that later I would need them, And something interesting happened. Those notes became more than reminders, they became a record of my growth. When I felt like I wasn't progressing, I could look back and realize, wait, what am I telling myself? I didn't know anything about this a year ago. And look at me now. I know so many things. And that's powerful because sometimes we're so focused on what we still need to learn that we forget to recognize how much we have learned already. So today, I want to encourage the women I work with to capture what they learn too. Don't just listen to a training and move on. Write it down and put it to practice. Write it down, um, and so that you can take action later if you don't have time right away, or write it down and try it. So when you go back, um, or when you come back, because knowledge becomes much more valuable when you actually use it, and you don't need a complicated system. You just need a notebook, a phone, or a simple digital document is enough to start building your own personal library of lessons. Because one day, you may look back like I do, and those pages, when you look at those pages, you're going to realize that they weren't just notes, they were a piece of the person you were becoming. So don't underestimate the small lessons you collect along the way. They may become the foundation for something much bigger. Thank you, and back to you, Sandy.
Thank you, Isabel. So Isabel talk about capture what you learn. Just like Isabel mentioned, when you record key ideas and practical lessons, uh, that helped you to become to create an organized system that turns knowledge into lasting wisdom and a personal library for continuous growth. Isabel also mentioned capture what you learn, revisit it, and put it into action. Your notes can become a powerful record of how far you have come. So there you go. All right, so now let's move on to our next point.
Um, is oh, next point is point 4. Is apply one lesson before learning something new. Today, I want to share a simple lesson that I believe can make a big difference in how we grow. Don't just keep collecting information. Take the time to apply what you have already learned. We live in a world where information is everywhere. We can watch videos, read books, attend webinars, listen to podcasts, and learn something new every day. But information alone doesn't create change. Imagine learning how to cook but never preparing the recipe. You may know all the ingredients, but you won't truly understand the process until you get into the kitchen and try it. Learning works the same way. Instead of trying to learn 10 new things at once, choose one lesson that speaks to you and put into practice. Take one idea, try it, make mistakes, learn from the experience, then improve and try again. That's how knowledge becomes experience, and experience eventually become wisdom. Sometimes we think we need to know more before we take action, but often action is what helps us to understand what we have already learned. As a reflection remind us, knowledge changes very little until that becomes action. So don't worry about learning everything at once. Focus on one lesson, apply it, and give yourself time to grow. The key takeaway is learn less, apply more, because progress doesn't come from how much information we collect. It comes from what we actually do with what we learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. So Patsy talk about apply one lesson before learning something new. Just like Patsy mentioned, knowledge becomes that wisdom only when we put it into action, and also we are consistently practicing what we learn. So that's for that point. So now let's move on to our next point.
Our next point is review, reflect, and continue growing. This is really important, because sometimes we think that learning is complete when we finish the book, when we finish the course, the training, or the workshop that we're doing. Yeah, we learn. But finishing something and truly learning from it is completely different. You have to ask yourself, did I learn something about this book or this training? What was most valuable about this? Can I apply this learning on my life? Do I under do I need to understand this topic better? We have to ask those complex questions, because reviewing what we learn help us turn information into action.
Sorry, we have just a technical problem. She's on the road, so just give us a few minutes and maybe she will be able to come back. So she was talking about review, reflect, and continue growing. So in the meantime, so growth is a lifelong journey. So remember always to review what you learn each week. Okay. It will help you, to reflect and practice, put it in practice, what you learn on that week, and celebrate those small improvements that you have done. The other thing will be adjust your learning goals as life changes. So um, as you go through your life, you will have several goals. And what something you had like at the beginning, like for example, me, I had a goal, having a nice career and all that. But as year passed by, my goal changed. It wasn't anymore to have a career. Now it's having more time with my parents. So that's the same thing. You have to adjust your learning goals as life changes. So as you go through your life changes. The other one is stay curious and open to new ideas. So when you stay curious, it helps you to keep learning, to keep growing. And at the same time, that will help you to have a more open mind to accept, new ideas that you probably didn't have. So now you have another perspective, and I think we have Jessie back. There you go.
Hi guys, sorry. I think I lost my connection. So I was saying, like, reviewing what you learn help us to understand, the information, because we keep consuming information without stopping it, to review it, and we can easily forget, and then we move to the next things. And do we actually learn? Because learning become more powerful when we take time to pause, to take that moment. Also, sometimes we're growing, but we don't recognize it because we're always focused on how far we still have to go. Oh my gosh, I'm halfway of the book and I haven't learning. I'm halfway of the course, and it hasn't finished. Growth isn't always dramatic. And sometimes growth is simple, realizing that something that once felt difficult now feel easier. Maybe I haven't finished it, but I'm getting it, or I feel much better about this topic. When you reflect regularly, how you begin to see progress that you may have otherwise overlooked, then you think, oh my gosh, I recognize my progress, and it gives you motivation to keep going. So the goal is to keep growing, not to say, oh, I know everything. A personal learning system should not make you feel pressure to know everything. There will always be something new to learn, and we know that. One thing I learned is that growing is not only about moving forward. Sometimes growing requires looking back at what you learned, looking back how far you become, and looking back, but honestly, and see what you need to improve. Don't rush through your journey so quickly that you forget to recognize your own progress on how far have you gone and what have you learned. Take time to reflect, take time to review, take time to learn. and then ask yourself, okay, I already know this, what the next step, what can I do better, like what's my next chapter on life, because the most successful learners are not necessarily the people who learn the fastest. They are the people who remains curious, and they stay open and continue growing. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Jesse. So Jesse talked about review, reflect, and continue growing. So like Jesse mentioned, when you're consistently applying what you learn and you celebrate those small improvements, and you also stay open to new ideas, that will help you to support the lifelong growth. And just like Jesse was mentioned, many times, and I also mentioned before Jesse, sometimes you have a new chapter in life, so a new change in your chapter. Um, because things change, you have to keep evolving. So what you had as a goal before is no longer the same goal. Now you have a new goal. So that will help you to review, reflect, and continue growing, uh, by applying all that. Okay. So we are going to find out what is our key takeaway for this topic.
Our key takeaway for today is today's conversation reminds us that success doesn't come from consuming the most information. It comes from consistently learning, applying, and growing. You don't need hundreds of books and you don't need dozens of courses. You need a simple system that helps you keep learning one step at a time. Choose what matters, schedule it, capture it, apply it, and review it. Because lifelong learning isn't about knowing everything, it's about becoming a little better every single day.
Thank you, Isabel. So that's our key takeaway for our topic today. Now, let's find out what is our reflective question for the audience.
Okay, our reflection question for you this week: create your own simple learning system. Start asking yourself, why do I want to learn this month? When will I study it each week? How will I record what do I learn? What is one lesson, I can apply immediately? Remember, those small consistent learning habits create extraordinary growth over time. You can do it.
Thank you, Jesse. So that's our reflective question for the audience. Jesse, we have a comment from Jesse. Jesse saying, my growth continues every time I learn, reflect, and apply. So there you go. So we have arrived to the end of our lives. So today we talk about how to build a personal learning system that actually works. So remember that lifelong learning isn't about collecting more information, just like Isabel mentioned at the beginning. It's about intentionally learning consistently and applying, what we learn, and regularly reflecting on what mattered most at that moment, right? Because like Jesse was mentioned, we have new chapters in our lives, so we have to reflect, what matters at that moment. Because the simple habits you build today will shape the person you become and the impact you make tomorrow. So that's for our topic today. So um, anyone wants to let us know what is our topic for next Monday?
Yes. Okay, our next week topic is turning information into wisdom in the digital age. So as we talk about this topic next week, we want to invite you to join us and have a great week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christiana. So yeah, so that's our topic for next Monday. So it will be a conversation about how to avoid information overload, think critically, apply what we learn, and transform knowledge into wisdom that positively impacts our lives and the lives of others. So we have arrived to the end. So we want to say thank you to everyone that has watched the live with us today. For those catching the replay, thank you so much. And to our followers, thank you so much for being part of our journey, for believing in us, and for engaging with our content. Um, so we want to wish everyone a happy and blessed Monday for those on Monday, and a happy and blessed Tuesday for those who are on Tuesday, and a happy and blessed week ahead for everyone. So thank you again for being here with us today, and we'll see you again in our next episode of the Global Digital Success
Talks.
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 Thank you, everyone. Goodbye to you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.